Starting recording, it is still loading. Yeah, it's getting started. Now we can go ahead. Right. So in the yesterday class, we have discussed, uh, what are the words, what are the methods we are using in the REST API, right? So I have also explained you, one beautiful story, right, regarding the theoretical concept, right? So as part of today class, I will implement the same thing as a practically, how it's practically working actually. Okay, so let's try to discuss. Okay, so here you can see the what are the words we are using here: the post, gate, put, and patch. Okay, so to use this method, we need one RESTful web service. We need one RESTful web service. Okay, so for now I will take one example of RESTful web service which are available in the internet. Okay, which are available in the Google. So let me take that one. Let me open my Chrome browser. It's loading. It's open. Okay, so I will take one example of the very good example of, yeah, this one is the REST API which is available in the Google, so you can use that particular one also for the practice. And I will provide you the multiple one, not the single one. Like I will provide you 4 to 5 REST web service, you can do the practice. Okay, first we'll try to understand the very simple one. Okay, so let's suppose you assign in one project, and that project is working on the RESTful web service. Okay, so let's try to understand first method, right? So right now we are not discussing the requirement. We will in, I think in tomorrow class we will discuss the, or Monday class, right? How the requirements comes. Okay, first let's try to discuss this method actually. Only we will concentrate on this method. Okay, how this method is working and what is the behavior of that particular method. Okay, let's try to discuss this particular method. Okay, so we have one RESTful web service. Here you can see, so this is the the host URL of the this particular service, go rest.co in, right? And they have provided the multiple resource. Here you can see the users resource, post resource, comment resource, to do's resource, right? Here you can see, if you check this URL, here you can see the protocol. This is the RESTful web service. RESTful web service, you can see the fake data, real response 24/7. Okay, online REST API. Okay, so first let's try to understand the very simple one, very simple one. Okay, so this is the protocol, and this is the base URL, the host URL, and after that you can see the public v1 and the users. So users is the resource here. Okay, so let's try to what I will do here. First, let's try to call the get method. So I told you that what is the use of get method? What exactly get method is doing? Get method is used to read the data, to extract the value, to fetch the data, right? From the database. Okay, it connect with the server, and server connect with the database, and based on your request it fetch the data from the database and it pass to the web server. Then web server return the response to the client. Okay, try to understand the sequence. First let me create this request. Okay, if you open the Postman, here you can see I have opened my Postman, and yesterday we have created one collection. Here you can see REST API train, which we have suggested, REST API train, and we have created one workspace REST API test B6. Let me again explain the thing. Workspace is generally created by your team lead, by your client, okay, and based on your project, right? And they will provide you the access of that particular workspace. Let's suppose you are working in the fresh project, right? So you have to inside the workspace you have to create the collection. The workspace contain the collection and the request and the relative items, okay? So inside this particular workspace you have created one collection, REST API trail, which you have suggested yesterday. Right now we have the question, can we add multiple collection inside this workspace? Yes, you can. Again, you have to click on this plus icon and you can create one new collection. By default, name is new collection. Here you can see by default, the name is new collection, right? So this is the new collection. So inside the workspace, you can create the multiple collection, okay? And you can rename this one also, okay? So I have renamed this thing as a REST API trail, okay? Now what we have to do, let's suppose this is the get call. How you can create the request? Let me delete this thing. So let's suppose this is the fresh collection. Let me delete also. Let me delete this collection also. Let's suppose this is the fresh collection. Inside the collection, you will get the requirement. The requirement is the client will provide you the URL, the service URL, to which you can connect and get the data. The client or developer will provide you the service URL, right? Which service URL you have to test. Okay. So what you have to do, let's suppose, guys, I know right now you will not understand how the requirements are coming, how you can map the things. Right now, I'm not explaining that thing. I'm only explaining my motto behind of that is only try to understand this method. Okay, when you understand this method, after that if you understand the requirement, then it will be the easy. We will discuss the requirement sheet separately. Okay, first let's try to understand the post method and get method, put, patch and delete. Okay, because if you understand this concept, 20% your API testing is done if you understand this particular method. And multiple interview question come with this method, this verb, okay, that I will teach you. Okay, so right now this is your web service. In this particular web service you want to perform the get operation. The get operation means you want to fetch the data. Okay, what you are doing here, you will create one collection. Inside the collection you will create one request, right? I have created one request. Either you can click on three dot and here you will see add request. This is the let me explain you what are the way to create the request inside the collection. Let me delete first this one. If your collection is fresh, nothing is added, so you will get this message, this collection is empty, add a request. So either you can click on this link, the request will get added inside this collection. Either you can click on three dot and here you will see add request. Here you can click on add request. Request will get added. By default the method is get and the name is new request, right? And the another way to create the request is you have to click on this plus icon. You can see it here, this plus icon. If you click on this plus icon, here you can see, right? So there are three ways to create. So it's up to you which way you are using. Okay, so do not get confused, right? Now let's suppose we have created one request, this request, right? And what method you want to use? Get method. When I use the get method, that means you are trying to fetch any data. Okay, so what is the service URL they have provided? Let's suppose developer has provided or the client has provided this particular service URL, https://go-rest.in public v1 user. So this is your service URL which client or developer or your lead has provided you, and they're asking to go and test this. Okay, so how you can do that, how you can use the get method? So you have to pass the service URL here. Okay, here you can see this is the protocol and this is the base URL. After the double first slash, you can see it is the resource which I have explained you, in the make my trip, Now I think you are easily understand why I have explained you here. The same thing we are using in the backend also. You can see it here. Clear? Now let's try to understand. Get method is fetch the data, and here you have passed the URL. So what happened when I click on send? When I click on send, it will connect with this particular server, this local host server, gorest.co-in. It will go to the public, and inside the public, it will go to the user's resource. Inside the user's resource, and inside the user's resource, whatever the data is created inside the user's resource, if you use the get call, it will fetch all the data. Let me send. I'm sending the request. Here you can see it connect with the server, it connect with the go rest server, and then that web server is connected with the internally to the database, right? From that database, they will go to the user's resource, and whatever the data is created inside the resource, you can see it here, that get fetch it here. You can see data here, and you can see the data is created with name, email ID, gender, and status. Ignore this thing, how the data is displayed here. Let's try to only understand the get method. Step by step we will learn, not in single class. Otherwise, it will go over the head. Okay, so we will learn step by step. Okay, so here you can see I'm using the get method, and you can see it here, all the data which are created inside the users, right? That get fetched it here. You can see the name of it Tenali Ramkrishna, and the second person is Tenali Ramkrishna. Third person is also Tenali Ramkrishna. You can see the multiple persons are there. You can see the Chandra Ayyarkar. You can see it here. Ikas Kaniyar. You can see. So these all are the data which is created inside the user's resource. And using the get method, you can fetch the data. Okay. Now, let me explain you one more story. Okay. So tell me, you are going to the bank, right? You are going to the bank, and the bank employee has the right? In not I'm asking only bank employee. Let's suppose you are working in any school or any university, any engineering colleges or medical colleges. The admin person want to get all the details, all the student detail, right? So whenever any action they are using in the web application, but in the backend it calling to the get method, right? So you can see it here, get method. Using the get method, they can fetch all the data which are created inside the user's resource. Okay, so that this is the way like the get is working. Actually, the get method is working. So I have used the base URL, and you can get the data. Now let's suppose if if uh, guys, tell me one thing. When in continue with the yesterday's story, I went to the bank, right? I'm asking to the bank employee, can you get my data? Can you check my data? So how the bank employee check your data? Tell me, how the bank employee will check your data? Any idea? How the bank employee will check the data?
Using some details like a mobile number or Aadhaar card like
Account
that.
number.
Account number, mobile number,
Account.
right?
Account.
Okay.
Yes.
So the bank employee will ask you, he is not your relative, right? So so that he can understand, they already know your account number and the mobile number and all the detail, right? The bank employee is the unknown person, right? Right? So he don't know, right? So in that case, the bank employee will ask you, could you please provide your account number, consumer ID number, application number, right? Something like that, right? Similarly, in the REST API, we have one more feature. If you want to get the individual data, if you want to fetch the individual data, let's suppose I want to fetch a Chandra Ayyakar. I want to fetch, guys, you can mute. You want to, guys, please mute. You want only Chandrika Ayyakar data, right? In that case, you have to pass the unique ID, right? So how you are passing the unique ID? Here in the URL 32. This is the unique ID for each user, right? And when you call, you can see it here, only that particular data is displayed, not the other data. Can you see it here? Single data is there, single data. Guys, do not worry, I will explain you this thing in very detail in, I think, from Monday. Let's try to understand only get stuff. Okay, so what I'm trying to say, using the get method, you can get the data, you can fetch the data, you can download the data. Clear? Now I'm creating one more request. I'm creating one more request. In that request, I want to create the new data. I want to create the new data. So tell me, as per the theoretical concept, the person want to create the data, which method they have to use?
Post.
Post method, exactly. So if you are trying to create any data on the server, right, you have to use the post method. So I have selected the post method, and you have to pass the server URL, in which server you want to connect, and what is the resource where you want to create the data, where you want to create the data, if you are creating the data, right? Now if you are using the post method, in that case, what you want to create, what you have to ask to the server, that I want this particular data, right? So how you can ask to the server? You have to select the body, inside the body, go to the raw, raw, and then you have to select the JSON here. Do not worry, I will explain you what did you mean by the JSON and all the things. Let's try to understand only post method. Okay, so I have selected the body, because if you are creating any data, let's suppose I went to the bank, I want if I simply say I want to create the account, can bank employee will create? He will definitely ask the information, right? Correct.
Yes. Yes.
Similarly, the things is here. If you are creating any data inside the server, inside the particular resource, right? So you have to pass the data to the server. You have to ask to the server that this data I want to create. this particular data I want to create. Okay, so let's suppose you want to create this data. Let's suppose, I will explain you this thing in detail, don't worry. Okay, so let's suppose I want to create the data. Okay, let's suppose Vikash. Okay, I am selecting Vikash here. Okay, let's suppose I'm selecting Vikas, right? And pass the, let's suppose I'm creating the user, and for that I have to pass this particular information like name, email ID, gender, and the status, right? So my mail account is vikas123 at the rate gmail.com. Okay, and gender is male, and the status, status if you want to change as active, right? I change this thing, right? So when you connect this thing to the server, you can click on send. So it connect with this particular server, go to this particular resource, and it will create the data for you, right? Okay, here you are getting the error message. Ignore this error message. So let's try to resolve. So because as part of this particular web service, you have to uh, pass the authorization. So here, if you click on the click here and select the Google. Guys, right now only understand the post method. Ignore everything. Ignore everything. Okay. I will come, explain to you everything one by one. Okay. First, let's try to understand the post method only. So it giving you the error message, authentication failed. That it is asking that it is a secure service. You need the token. You need the authorization token. That's why this error message is coming. That I will explain you in very detail, and it is very important concept in the separate class. Okay, auth. I'm selecting here bearer auth, and here let me pass the auth here, and let me call, and let's see. You can see it here. I'm able to create the data. You can see it here. You can see it here. 201 created. 201 created. 201 created. You can see it here. The data get created. And so one more thing I want to know you guys, from you guys, when you are creating any, the bank employee created your account, is bank employee giving you something?
User
Account
ID.
number.
Account
ID.
number,
Number.
user ID, consumer ID, like that ID is unique, right? Each person unique ID or account number is unique. Agree?
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Same thing here. Same thing here. Whenever the data is created inside the server, I have created the data with a name as a Vikas, email ID is Vikas123, gender as a male, and status as a active. You can see it here. The server will create the data, and you will get the status code. Status code, if you get the 200 series, 200 series, that means that this data is successfully created on the server or successfully performed, right? So I will explain you this status code in separate class, not now. Just only understand, if anything is successfully performed on the server, that in that case you will get 200 series status code. Here you can see I have created the data, and you are getting 201. In the get call, here you can see you are getting the 200. That means you are successfully able to fetch the data. That's why you are getting the status code as a 200. Whenever any action is successfully performed on the server, in that case server will return you 200 series error status code. It indicates that the data is successfully performed. Have you noticed the same thing when I have explained you this particular thing, like inspect this element, and when I'm trying to search, go to the network section, and when I'm trying to search in the web application, I think if you go here and you can see it here, 200. That means the make my trip server returning the response successfully. That's why. That is the motto. I was in the beginning of the class, I have explained you the web application so that you can easily understand when I explain the things in the web service, in the REST API. In the REST API. That's why I have explained you the the URL concept and this request header and the method and the status code, right? You can see it here. The same thing you are getting in the backend also. 200 means successfully performed, right? And here you can see it's 200 series. I am asking series like 200, 201 or 204. 200 series status code, that means successfully performed. Okay, now you can see when you create the data, right? Can you see it here? Server will return one unique ID to you. Now this is the unique ID for you.
Because one thing, 201 and 2000, why it is changing that one? Can you explain that?
That I will sir explain you in the status class. Okay, let's try to only understand if you are getting this, if server is performing any successfully action, in that case you will get 200 series. Right now only keep in this mind. Okay, I will explain this concept in the separate class. That is the huge concept. Here you can see it here in the HTTP status code class. Okay, is that fine, sir?
Okay, sir.
Because it's a separate to our
just
classes.
one question.
Okay. Yes, sir. Tell me. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, when we are performing post, okay, so it's saving the data in the database.
Yeah, it's first it connect with the server. Look at this URL. First it connect with the server, then it will check that resource. The resource is the user. Then the internally it's connected with the DV, right? So it connect with that particular DV, and inside the DV they will check the user's resource and they will create the data inside the database. Okay, if you see
But
the
for it,
internally diagram here, you can see the client is sending the request over the internet. This is the front end, right? It's connect with the web server and it connected with the database, right? Here this is the backend architect. It's connect with the web service, and the application server and the database. These all are the depends on the designing, how developer are designed actually.
okay, but for creating data, we definitely will be needing some authentication, right? No,
Exactly.
anyone cannot create in the database any data.
Exactly.
Okay, and
Yeah. So
the
yeah.
format should be this only, right?
Yeah, so that's why you can see it here. If I have not used the token, it was showing the error message as a
Authentication
401
failed. Yes.
authentication required. That's why
Right.
I told you, let me pass the token actually. After that, they allow you, they what happened internally, it connect with the application server, and it will authenticate this, the token. Here you can see this particular server will authenticate the token. If that token is valid, then it connect with this server database.
Yeah. So whenever we will be performing post method,
Mhm.
so someone will be providing us the token, right?
No, not someone will provide you. This is the part of the requirement. We have the
Okay.
separate, request for that. That I will explain you in that particular class. Right now, only understand the token is required to perform any action, to do any, to create any data. Okay, because this is the totally API security related stuff, authentication, authorization, and here you can see there are multiple types of the token: no auth, API key, bearer token, basic auth, digest auth 1.0, auth 2.0. There are multiple things, guys. Okay, so we will discuss in the separate class. Okay,
Okay,
is that
okay.
fine, sir?
One more question, because only one
Yeah.
authentication is enough for all the application, or we will be needing different authentication for one project.
No, it's server to server, your authentication will change.
Okay, okay, fine. Thank
If you
you.
are working on the multiple server, like a multiple web service, then each web service have the separate token.
Okay, okay.
Okay, no worry, that I will explain you in that particular class also. Okay, you don't have to take tension. Okay,
Yes. Okay.
let's try to understand only post method, because in one class I can't explain you the whole thing, otherwise it will get mess up. Okay, so that's why I'm explaining the things step by step. After then we can merge all the thing. Okay, so here you can see the server will create the unique ID for you, 2598. Can you see it here, 2598? So similarly, when the bank employee created the account for you, he is providing the application ID, consumer ID, or whatever, right? Similarly, whenever data is created on the server will return you the unique ID. That ID is your primary key. Based on that ID, you can perform any action. Okay, so guys, tell me what is the use of this ID based on my yesterday story. What is the use of that? Anyone
To
can explain?
details of that ID.
Sorry, come again, sir.
To fetch the details of that ID.
Exactly. If you want to fetch any detail, right? And in that case, it is very useful, to get that particular data. Okay. So let's try to understand, guys. One more thing. There are multiple person who has not done the payment. So please make the payment. Already we have taken 5 classes. Okay. So please, end of the day, please make the payment. Okay, so here you can see this ID is provided by the server. Whenever you are creating any data on the server will return you the unique ID, right? So post method is clear. Post method is used to create the data. Let's try to understand one thing. This is your request which you are sending to the server, right? And this is the response which you are getting from the server. This is the HTTP request which you are sending, the client is sending to the server, and this is the HTTP request response which you are getting by the server, which we have discussed here, right? In here, this is the data, the Delhi, Mumbai, and the 17 you are passing to the server. The client is passing to the server, and when you click on the search, so the data will return, right? So that data is the response that is returned by the server, right? Same case here also. This is the request which you are sending to the server, and this is the response which you are getting by the server. Okay, so this is the post method. Let's try to understand the patch method. What did you mean by the patch method? Okay, the patch method. Okay, so guys, after some days you come to the bank and you are asking to the bank employee that I want to update my email ID. I want to update my email ID because I have passed the wrong email ID. Could you please update my email ID? So the bank employee will update their email ID, right? So how they can update? Using the internally in the backend, it's calling to the patch method. Patch method, right? Here you have to pass the which service URL you are using. right? Where is your data? So here is my data inside the users, right? So if you are using the patch method, right, you are trying to update the data. So you have to pass the data to the server, which data you want to update. Okay. So what I'm doing here, I will use, right? And let's suppose you want to update, let's suppose you want to update the email ID, right? What you are doing here, I am writing here updated here, right? Now guys, tell me, if I call this request, it's showing me the error message. Here you can see. So guys, is this successfully action? Means you are
No,
getting the successful
No,
response.
no.
Why?
no, because I
ID.
think you required to, yeah, pass ID, because here they are not sure where to update
Yeah,
the
that is
email.
the, yeah, that I can understand. But how did you identify that it is not the successful response?
By seeing the
This
status code.
404 error.
Status.
Exactly. I told you, if the server will perform the successful action, in that case you will get 2000 series. And here you are getting the 400 series. That is known as a client error. Okay, client error. Okay. So here you have to, so guys, when you are, guys, you can mute. When you are going to the bank, right? So the bank employee asks you to give the unique ID, right? Based on that, they will identify your data and they will update your email ID, right? So what ID I have to provide? The unique ID which the server has provided. So can I pass this ID to the server or not? Correct.
Yes.
Yes, yes,
Right? This is
yes.
your unique ID to get the data. If I call, you can see it here. It's saying me authentication failed because you need the token. I will go here and select the bearer token and then again call. You can see it here. The email ID is get updated. You can see it here. Vikas123 updated here, right? And if you want to check the data is successfully updated or not, you have to use the get call. And if you call this particular method get call to check data is successfully updated or not, you can call the get method. Here you can see data is successfully get updated, right? So this is the use of patch method. I will explain you more things. There are multiple things in the patch, post and put, but let's try to understand one basic concept. After that we will move to the mid level and the advanced level. Okay, so let's understand what exactly functionality is, how it's working, what is the main behavior, right? So using the patch method, you can update your data, right? Now we have one more method, that is put method. Now the question is, what is the use of put method, right? So put method is also used to update the data, same thing. We will pass the service URL along with the ID, right? Let's suppose you want to update select the raw JSON, and let me copy this request. A request I have passed. I want to update the name. I have appended the Vikasha, and let me pass the token, auth token. Okay, and let me call. Here you can see it here. The name get updated. Name get updated successfully, and you are getting the 200 action. And if you call the get method to verify your data is successfully performed or not, you can call the get method and you can check. Oh, 2598. Okay, because this particular server, multiple person are using this particular web service, so they have deleted this particular user. They are frequently deleting the user at the interval of 10 minutes, 15 minutes. That's why it showing me for resource not found. Let me again create the new user. Let's suppose Rakesh, and I am using package. Okay, and let me update. You can see the separate id is generated, right, for this particular user. I will use this id and pass it here 1710, and we'll go here and let me update this thing. Okay, I'm adding here Rakesh updated, and let me call. You can see it here, Rakesh get updated. If you use what is the ID here, 1370. I can use this 1370 here to get that particular ID. 1370. Here you can see, right? So this is the one use of put method. There are other uses also, but that I will explain you in another topic. Okay, so let's try to understand only method here.
Because
Okay, yeah,
there is no much difference, I hope, within the put and
yeah,
patch, right?
there is
Is that
difference,
any?
sir. That's why I'm asking you. There is other things also that I will explain you in separate. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, put method is also basically used to replace the data. Let's suppose I'm using, I don't know this particular feature is work or not here. Let's suppose, let's do it. No, that particular feature is not working here. That's why I have not explained you. Okay, that will I will explain this the another behavior of put in the separate example. Okay, now the next one is the delete method. How you can use the delete method? If you go here and you want to delete the user, right, after creating the data, updating the data, you want to delete. How you can delete? So you can select the delete method, and here you can pass the url, right? So I will go here and pass it here, right? So I have used this particular web service, and I want to delete the data. You have to ask to the server that which data you want to delete. Any particular ID you have to provide to the server. So this is the unique ID of the user, right? So when I click on send, your data will get deleted. Okay, it's showing the authentication failed because it is secure one. So I have to select the bearer token, and now let me call. Here you can see. Now guys, you can tell me that is this successfully action or not by the server, because I'm getting nothing in the response.
Yes, because we get this 204 error, 204 message.
Then it is successful action, right?
Yeah, 20 series is for success.
Yeah, 203 is for the success. I will explain you what do you mean by 204 no content in the separate. Okay, so you are getting the 203s, right? That is 204 no content. That means you have successfully performed the action, right? When you check this ID in the get call, when you are trying to fetch the data using get, and by passing that particular ID here 1370, you can see it here. Resource not found, because that particular user is already deleted from the server. Okay, so this whole action is known as a CRUD operation. CRUD. C means create. Okay, R means read the data. C means create, means which method it is.
Post.
Give me a second, let me open the notepad.
Post method.
CRUD. So C means what? Create. And which method it is, sir?
Post.
Post method.
Post method, right? If it is R, then R means to read the data. Then tell me which method it is.
Get.
Get.
Get method. If it is U, then U means update the data. Update. Which method is this?
Fetch and
Or
Patch and put, right? And D means delete. Delete. D means delete. That which method it is,
delete. Delete.
right? So this is known as a CRUD operation, right? CRUD operation. Create the data, read the data, update the data, and update the data and delete, right? So these all are the 5 methods which we are using in the REST API, in the REST APIs, guys, right? Now here you can see when the client is sending the request to the server, right? So here you can see it's sending the request to the server. Either it is get call, it connected with the server, and it is bi-directional process. The server, verify the response and return back to the client. Similar for get, post, put, and delete. These all are the interview. In the interview, they will ask you what are the HTTP method in the RESTful API you have used. Then you have to ask all the 5 methods. Okay. Now, guys, it's time to discuss the mapping sheet. What are the in the real time? I know you have the question regarding this method. I know you have. I agree with that. But we will discuss that thing in the separate class. There are multiple things, guys, which I have left, but that I will discuss in the separate class, because I don't think if I explain all the things here, it will be extra burden. Okay. So now I will explain you how let's suppose you assign in one project, in RESTful project, and you are working on the agile methodology. I believe everyone are working on the agile methodology, agile process, right? You get the requirement from the client. Now the question is how you can read the requirement. If it is RESTful API, how you can map the requirement into your Postman tool or any other tool, right? So this is the major thing. If you understand this thing, then you are in the master in the APIs, guys. You are the master then. If you successfully understand the requirement and if you successfully map the requirement, right, then you are very good in the API testing. Okay. So for the to understand the requirement, I have the one requirement sheet, very basic requirement sheet, which we can discuss. Where it is the requirement sheet. Give me a second. Yeah, let's discuss this requirement. So when you assign in the project, right, the client will provide you the requirement sheet. Okay. And they will ask you go and read this requirement and map this thing into your Postman or any other tool, like whichever the tool you are using in your project. Go and map. Go and map. Okay. Let's try to understand the very first requirement. Okay. Guys, this is the very simple requirement. So guys, depends on the project to project, client to client. The requirement is also looks like different. Agree or not? In some of the company, the requirements are very easy. In other company, in other project, the requirements are, it is very complex requirement, right? So project to project, the complexity is vary. So let's discuss the very simple requirement which you can map very easily. Okay, so this is the one requirement sheet which is provided by the client. And let's suppose you assign in project one, right? And you are working on the agile method, right? Now your team lead giving you one story. The story number is API. Let's suppose API. Let's suppose the story number is REST API. Not like that. I think it's for API T API 100 right? And let's suppose the requirement is to get the data or the data from the users resource, right? Something like that. The story is created. Agree? The story number and the description, and inside that you have the description about this particular story, like whoever creating, like your product owner is creating the story, right? So to fetch the data from the users resource, they added the description, right? And they asking the please refer to the document. Please refer to the attached document and map the requirement. Please refer to the attached document and map the requirement, right? So they will provide you the one Confluence page link where they have attached the detail. So guys, tell me, this is, are you, in your, if you are working on the agile, so your story will looks like that. Agree?
Yes.
Right? So let's suppose, guys, my teaching style is totally different. I will not directly explain you the things directly, pass the body here and call the request. I will not explain you like that. What I am facing in my real time, from gathering the requirement, from mapping the things, from connecting with the server, everything I will explain you, everything, okay, as per my experience, so that you will feel like you are working in the real time. When you walk in, when if you are, I told you, when you complete this class, you will have the 3 years of the experience, guys. You can represent like that, so you will not feel like that you have not worked and you don't know the practically session, you don't have the experience in the real time. You will not feel like that. Okay, you will feel confident and you can do the stuff. Okay, so let's suppose you are working in the real time and this requirement is given by the client in the Confluence page. They will provide you the URL, right? So what you are doing here, this story is assigned to you, right? Now you open, gone through the description and the detail, and you open this requirement in the Confluence page in the Jira, right? So let's try to understand this requirement. There are multiple columns are there: serial number, the roots, method, type, full root, description, request body, response body, right? So let's suppose this requirement is provided by the client, right? Now the question is how you can map this requirement into your Postman or any other tool. I'm not asking only in the Postman. I'm asking in any other tool, right? You can map if you know the concept, right? So I will open my Postman and let's try to implement all the things. Okay. So what I can do, let me close all, close all tab. Do not save, do not save, do not save, do not save. Okay. So let's suppose you are working in the fresh project, right? So what is the root means resource, what root you have to use to connect with the server, right? You can see the root is users, so users is the resource here, right? Now the method is get, so you have to select the method as a get, right? After that select the content type. You can see JSON, the type is JSON, right? So here you have to go here in the header section, and here it is the, I will explain you what do you mean by the header. Okay, so it's asking the content type, content, second, content type is JSON, application JSON. Okay, so the type you have selected as a JSON. The type JSON means, the type JSON means the request, because we are using the REST API, right? And I told you if you are using the REST API, the 90% the, you know, the format is in the form of JSON. JSON means JavaScript object notation. JavaScript object notation. Let's try to understand the JSON first. After that, we can understand this, you know, other thing. What did you mean by the JSON? Okay, let's try to understand the JSON first. Okay. So JSON means JavaScript object notation. So I told you if you go through the previous slide, right here, if you go through here, you can see, here you can see the format is the JSON. If you are using the REST API, then the format is JSON, right? The format is JSON. JSON is the data, you know, formatter in which format you are trying to connect. Let's suppose I'm trying to connect with you using the English language. Using the English language, right? Similarly, in the REST web service, JSON is like that, right? Which format we are using to connect with the server. So here, as per the requirement, we are using the JSON format, and JSON stand for JavaScript object notation. JavaScript object notation, right? So if you are writing the, let's suppose this is your request, this is the post request, and inside the body, go and select the raw, right? Here you have to select the JSON. Here you have to select the JSON, right? Now the things is how you can write the JSON, right? If you are writing the JSON, right, you have to use the curly bracket, open curly bracket and close curly bracket. That is known as a JSON object. That is known as a JSON object. JSON object. JSON object here, right? Correct? Now, if anything you can see, if you are using open bracket and open curly bracket and close curly bracket, that is known as a object, JSON object, right? Inside the JSON object, you have to pass the two things. What is the syntax? The syntax is you have to pass key and value. Key and value.
Sir, I think you have stopped your screen.
Sorry, sir. Come again, sir. Hello. Guys, can you see my screen? Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Yes.
Sir, you can rejoin the call, I think. You can rejoin.
Yeah, it's now visible. It's now
Okay, fine.
running.
Yeah, I think due to the network actually. Okay. So here you can see the syntax of JSON object is key and value. This is the key and the value. And if you are writing any key, then you have to use the double quote. And you have to use the colon and you have to pass the value. This is the syntax of JSON object, which you have to follow. Curly bracket, close curly bracket, and key and the value, right? Let's suppose you go for the to create the account, right? So what are the things you have to give? Your name, right? Your name. Let's suppose your first name. The first name is Vikas, right? Here you can see this first name is a key and this is the value, and the key is always written inside the double quote and then colon, and then the value is the which data type you have to pass. After that, if you have the multiple key and the value, then you have to use the comma. After that, enter, and you can write the another key. Let's suppose last name. And pass the last name as a sa. If you don't have any other key after that, so in that case you don't have to use the comma. If you are using the comma, you will get the syntax error. You can see it here, the trailing comma. Even if you remove the double quote, here, you will get the error message. Here you can see. So this is the syntax which you have to mandatory to follow to create the JSON object. If you not use the colon, you can see you will get the error message. The colon is expected, right? So this is the way to write the JSON object. If you miss the comma here, you can see it giving you the error message, then expected comma. If you hover the mouse, you can see expected comma. So you have to pass the comma. After that, let's suppose we have the another value. Let's suppose the email ID. I'm passing colon and then the double quote in Vikas @gmail.com. After that, we have one more property, that is phone number. And you are passing the phone number as 123, right? You pass the phone number here, right? So you have the question that how these things are looks like in the web application, right? In the web application, let me show you. I will take only 2 minutes. After then we can close this call. Okay, so let me open the make my trip. Let's suppose I want to book the ticket, this ticket, right? Book now. I clicked on the book now, and here let me go here. Here you can see add adult. Can you see it here, guys? The first name, last name, the mail, the country code, the phone number, the email ID. In the front end, in the web application, it will looks like that. And in the back end, the first name, last name, mail, the mobile number, the email ID is considered as a key. These all are the key here. And here, if you are passing any value, that is a value. This is the key. Last name is the key. Inside this key, you are passing the value. This is the gender where we are selecting male or female, right? And this is the mobile number key where you are passing the mobile number, right? The email ID where we are passing the email ID. The same thing, can you see it here also in the backend in the REST API? This is the key and the value, right? So in tomorrow, I think tomorrow we don't have class, Saturday, Sunday, right? So go through the document and please make the payment, right? In tomorrow class, we will discuss what are the JSON types are available. We will discuss this thing, the value. This thing is clear, right? Now you have the question, why you are only passing first name, last name, email ID, why not some other value? So anyone having answer? It's simple question. Instead of first name, last name, why not you are passing name or like full name? Why not some other value? Why you are passing the first name?
Whatever the schema we have to follow, or we have to use the dictionary keyword like that.
Exactly.
We cannot
So
change
this
the schema, right?
exactly. So this thing we are not deciding, sir. This thing is decided by the client. What key and the value you have to use, what the developer has implemented. So this value is decided by the client. If the client is define the schema as the first name, then you have to use the first name. If the client has used only name, then you have to use the name only. So this thing is decided by the client, which we will discuss when we map the requirement in the mapping sheet. So in on Monday we will discuss what are the type: string, number, boolean, null, array, object, and the JSON object, JSON array, and how it's connecting with the server. After that we will discuss this requirement, this particular requirement, because we have to pass the response body, and response body and request body, it is in the form of JSON. So that's why before explaining to request body and response body, I have to explain the JSON, right? So in the coming class, we will discuss the types of the JSON type, and then we can discuss the requirement, the very basic requirement. After then, we will discuss the mid-level requirement. After then, the upper level requirement, then the advanced level requirement, which can't be easily understandable. Okay, clear? So that's it, guys. Please make the payment today in the day. If you want to continue the class on Monday, please. If you have any question, then let me know, sir.
Thank you.
No question? I'm still here, sir. If you have any question, then let me know. No question? Okay, guys. Thank you. Bye bye. Have a nice day.